Heights. Losing your parents in the grocery store. Leaving a clap in the podcast audio.
All right, dude, quit. We get it. You left it in. It was funny. Move on.
And with that, welcome to the Caffeinated podcast, the show where positivity is the goal, but chaos is the process. I'm Bubbzi, and he's the Beard. And today, we have Feargonmics, the cost of fear.
Come on, guys. You know, everybody, no matter what they say, is afraid of something. You know, sometimes what we're afraid of, people call irrational. But it's only irrational to them because they're not afraid of it, right? So we're just going to go through today and we're going to try to have a little fun with fear. Bubbzi, how about this week instead of me doing it? How about you give them the rundown on what we're going to do, and then as usual, we'll just let the conversation flow.
So I think obviously we have to start, as we do most of them, we have to lay the foundation. So what is fear? What are you, the viewer, us, the... I don't think there's a good... Do we call ourselves podcasters now? Do I call
I don't know. That sounds like something out of...
So
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if we're podcasters.
Well, I get what Bubbzi's afraid of, what the Beard is afraid of. Then we're gonna have a little bit of fun with some phobias and go over well, the fun part is either reacting to what they are or also reacting to our pronunciation of them.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know about you, I am not an English major.
I'm not sure I can speak English.
Yeah, I have difficulties with that as well. Then we're going to go right back to the title. We're going to talk about the actual cost of fear. And then we get into the deep and dark, where we talk about things we actually missed because of fear. I mean, we gotta keep it. We said from the beginning, we're keeping it real. Okay, there's some things I think everyone has missed because of fear. We're gonna go over that, especially with the Bubbzi, the Beard.
I like it.
The podcasters. And then we get to the exciting part, especially following up from last week, the dream. We talk about how fear can be overcome. And I think we'll try to wrap it up from there. I don't know. It depends on how deep the rabbit hole we go down from this point on.
But either way, no matter how deep the rabbit hole or how far the trail goes, you all now know the destination. And once again, we invite you to come along on the chaotic trip that we call Feargonomics.
Yes. Also, yes, I am not facing this way. I'm facing this way because I am proud of what we did. So just getting that out there because yes, it's going to, I want to face my main monitor. I'm like, oh yeah, this will work. And then I'm like, my camera's over there, isn't it? Yeah. So we're over here now. I've still got all the lights. It's all pretty now, I guess. But just in case everyone's like, oh, the camera changed. Oh. So,
well, I tell you what, let's do it this way. Let's do this.
Okay.
You know, we want to talk about fear. So the first thing we kind of have to do, right, is we have to answer the question, what is fear? Or if you want to stretch it out a little bit, you can say, well, what are you afraid of there, bud?
I mean, do you want to list? Did you want, or do you, the question,
well,
do you want it numerical?
Let's not do the phobia so much of the direct intent of what we're afraid of at the moment, but let's just kind of look at what fear is in general. How about that? Let's start there, and then we'll get into the particulars, if you will.
Yeah, particulars. Do you want it numerical or alphabetical?
Well, I have a file folder, if that tells you anything. But anyway.
Hey, guys, speaking file folders, I brought the notebooks. I have the quotes prepared.
He's like, do you think I'll need another quote today? Should I get them? You might as well.
So I was like, I'm going to get my notebooks. I even got this little one that I've barely written in, but I said wrote-in.
Can you tell he's from Kentucky, y'all?
I'm from the country.
Anyway, I heard a definition
All right.
of fear once that and I think it's also, if I'm using the right word, and I may not be because I haven't had enough coffee yet, an acronym for fear. All right.
Ooh.
And it is a definition and an acronym all in one. And it says fear is false evidence appearing real.
I like that.
Would you say that is an accurate definition of fear?
False evidence appearing real. I like that. I like it. I like it. But I mean, wouldn't you say you could be fearful of something that's not false, I guess?
Well, I think what the person meant was this. For example, and this is when I talk about, because I've taught kids for 20 some odd years in different aspects. And when we talk about fear, this is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of heights. No, you're not. I mean, let's be honest. We're not afraid of heights. We're afraid of the fall. Right?
Yeah.
And then if somebody goes, well, but Mr. Beard, I'm afraid of the dark. No, we're not afraid of the dark. We're afraid of what we think might be in the dark.
Oh, so what you're saying is we're not afraid of needles. We're afraid of the pain.
Exactly.
Of needles. Okay.
We're afraid of what causes it. I think that's what they meant by false evidence appearing real. We're afraid of what might be or what could be, instead of what we may even rationally know to be, if that makes any sense.
I get it. I get it. We're getting there. Okay.
So, I mean, you know, if you start talking about what are you afraid of, you know, we mentioned it a little bit when we talked about the podcast. Sorry, I'm gonna move this just a little bit.
It's all right. I move mine all the time.
We talked about the fear of failure when we talked about the podcast, right? And the TikTok and all that. You know, was it really so much that we were afraid we would fail, or that we just wouldn't be any good? You know what I'm saying? We were using a different terminology, maybe. I think sometimes we put a word on a fear or an insecurity, if you will, and then we call it a fear. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm mumbling and stumbling a little bit tonight, y'all, and I apologize for that. But
well, I mean,
sometimes I think we're afraid of the what ifs. I guess that's why it's false evidence. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll just leave it there and stop.
I mean, I don't think you're stumbling on it, but I like what you said there. Is you're putting a word onto the fear. You mean like a phobia word?
Phobias.
All right. But yeah, I like that. So false evidence appearing real. We're not like you said afraid of like what the dark or heights or thing. Like you're afraid of what is actually in it, I guess. I mean,
what you think might be. Well, I mean, think about this. There's people who say that they are afraid of being alone. Is it truly that they're afraid of being alone, or is it that they're actually more afraid that nobody actually likes them? You see what I mean? Ooh. It's not what we think it is, or it's not the terminology that we're using. We're just trying to express it, maybe, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Or
I don't know. I may be well off base, guys, and please let me know. I'm curious. I really am.
There's a reason comment sections exist, okay? It is for interaction. Just like, you know, at least with us, we're not in the same room. He has his room, I have mine. Mine obviously looks better. Don't worry about it.
Well, of course it does. But mine looks better because I'm in it. Hello. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Shave the beard. And I'm talking all the way. Mustache and all.
No, I have a fear of razors.
Oh, actually, that's one thing. All right. Now that I mentioned shaving his beard, I have never seen this man without at least a mustache. Okay?
Nope. Not going to happen.
I am personally afraid and also curious about what he looks like without a mustache. I mean,
for those that are my age and older are probably the only ones that are going to get this reference. But in all his years, he's never seen me without at least a mustache. Mm-hmm. Nobody has since I was probably 22 years old when I accidentally screwed up the trimming of the mustache. But I will say it this way. What I actually look like without facial hair of any kind, only the shadow knows.
Oh, funny story. We actually just watched a movie about the shadow the other night, which is probably
That's what made me think of it.
Oh, true. You do have a really big nose like that guy. Although that movie
that's
was
why the facial hair stays. It hides all the ugly guys. I'm just saying.
I mean, he wasn't ugly. He got the girl. You know what I mean?
Anyway.
I'm just saying. Let's see. What are we? Okay, so we kind of combined it. Was we have to give a definition. What are some things that you are afraid of, or what am I afraid of? You know, we can. Him afraid of razors.
Yes.
What are you afraid of?
Not really, but yes.
What are you afraid of, darling? Tell me.
Well,
if only
honestly,
if only we had a couch and a chair. You know, I can just sit back.
I don't know if there is an actual name for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you could call my fear the fear of failure, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more a fear of letting down the people that I care about than me personally failing, if that makes any sense. I mean, I know it can still be under the same thing, but I can handle it better if it's just me, but when it affects everybody else, not so much. So that would probably be where I would have to start with mine.
So would you like maybe like the fear of failing commitments?
Not commit. It's not about not failing the relationship itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's failing the people that I'm in the relationship with, or feeling like I let them down, or I'm not able to help or do whatever I'm supposed to do for them.
Right.
So, and again, I don't know if there's an actual word for it. There probably is, and somebody probably knows it. But, we've told you all a little bit about our history. We went through a whole lot of stuff because of my illnesses and the things that a lot of which I still go through on a daily basis. And at some point, how do I say this, Bubs, without getting too in depth with it? We lost a lot of stuff. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And I let everybody down. Not intentionally, not because I set out to. Even though it was because of things that were beyond my control, I still feel like I let everybody down. And that's the one thing that scares me more than anything else, is letting my family down again. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah. What about you, Bubs?
Let's see. I had it, and then we got deep, and I was like,
sorry.
It just what was it?
He's afraid of barbers.
Okay, my hair is luscious. Okay, back off. All right. You used to have a mullet, although mullets are coming back. Okay, mullets are coming back.
For all they know, they've never seen me without the hat. I may still have a mullet.
Haven't they seen you on TikTok without a hat?
Maybe, maybe not. Depends on if they went to TikTok.
Check the description. I just turn on the effect panel
anyway,
again.
Go ahead, Bubs.
Fear of public speaking. I used to have. Did I ever have an issue with speaking in front of people? Gosh, that was painful. You may not notice because I'm like, oh yeah, whoa, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I get in front of people and it was like tears and running off stage. Oh, it was great.
And I'm not laughing at him. I just, it's one of those things that I've.
Well, it's not something like I still would say I get nervous, like getting in front of people and doing stuff. That's why, like podcasts and everything like that. Yes, I find it difficult sometimes. That's also why I was really kind of upset about the clap track that was left in. Everybody thought it was funny, but I'm sitting there like,
okay, guys,
unprofessional.
He's like, I can't believe I left that in. He's like, that's so unprofessional. I'm like, but dude, you're worried about a clap. I told everybody I picked my nose.
Okay.
I mean, come on, y'all. Look at this thing. I mean,
the
come on.
What was it? The first podcast we left in one of the as like the funny moment, which we've tried to keep up with the funny moments in the beginning of the podcast. I just find them enjoyable. It's like a hook. Like when you write something, okay, your first couple sentences or paragraph, you're supposed to have a hook. That's what gets people to stay and continue on. Like
Well,
I don't have a good visual hook. I guess
I get it, but and I don't want us to beat it up too much because I mean I love picking on him.
Well, I was
really do.
talking about we left in one of the screams in the first podcast.
Well, that's true, but then that was hilarious. But so.
But that was for me like I have this saying like I scream to make the sad go away or whatever. Like it just helps me like it's like one of those icebreakers. Like if you're what was it? I think Steve-O from why is my mind just blanking? You know who Steve-O is, right? The guy who did
I know what you're talking about. I think Johnny Knoxville and all those.
Yes. He has
I know who you're talking about.
He has a thing where he will count to 3 and he says, I've never not done anything when I count to 3. Like that's the thing that gets you past like the moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, so you're saying it's a coping mechanism?
Yes, that's why I'm like I'll just go like and like that's like just like gets me like ready to go, But like
no, I got you. And I would be willing to bet that there's a lot of different coping mechanisms, and like most things, that mechanism is going to be different than everybody else. I mean, we're going to talk about the phobias here in a little bit, and I think we're going to have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's some, I mean, let's be honest, guys. There are some fears out there
that are legitimate,
that are normal. And I don't mean to say normal or abnormal, but there are some things. I mean, fear is a natural response in your body. It's meant to protect you from things that might hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But at the same time, there are fears out there that, for me, I go, how in the world can somebody be afraid of that? That's the only thing I mean by normal and abnormal. I'm not saying anything about anybody. It's just that for me, some of those things that are out there, I mean, I don't know if there's a phobia about Walmart, but I probably have that.
Question. Are you saying that you're normal?
Oh, absolutely not. That's why I'm not the best judge on normal and abnormal. True, I'm just saying there are natural fears like the fight or flight response to save your life or to get you out of a situation. And then there's fears that, to me, not to the person that's involved in them or that has them, would seem abnormal. Okay.
Right.
And I hope I explained that properly, because as always, we're not out to offend. We're just kind of out to have a little bit of education, a little bit of information,
and a good old time,
and a little bit of comedy on top of that.
Which, so I mean, looking at our faces, 100% comedy right at the bat.
Well, what are you gonna do? But I get it. One of the reasons that Bubbs is so good at what he does is because he is afraid to not do something well. Okay. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Ooh,
I mean, he wants to put out a good product. He wants to put out something that people will enjoy. He wants it to be as professional as an unprofessional can be. Okay. Because it's not like he's got all these degrees and all this other, but he wants it to look well and he wants it to flow well for us and for you all.
Bro, if I had those degrees, they'd be like, instead of these things, degrees, just all of them.
So I give him a hard time because he didn't know till 3 days in.
Oh my!
That the clap was there. I knew it day one.
Yeah,
but I didn't tell him because I knew. Because that's the thing. You can take something that was innocently done, but if somebody has an issue and you make something out of that issue, it can just reinforce that fear or that insecurity. So I don't want to do that because he does such a great job.
Yeah, and I mean,
and everybody that I've talked to thought it was hilarious.
Well, and the thing is, like, it's not bad that I left it in there. It's not like I mean, people have gotten in trouble for a lot of recorded things that they did not think were going to go out public. It's not like we said anything there. I just, like he said earlier, I just want to do
You will
something.
not find those tapes of us. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, you know. All right. Okay. See. Okay.
I messed him up. Sorry.
I think Okay. No. I think everyone here has played Cards Against Humanity, right? Okay. Imagine if some of those got recorded and taken out of context. Okay.
Well, you know.
Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. I get that. Of course. Then you get. Ooh, that's another fear. A fear of deep fakes. Have you seen some of these deep fakes?
No.
Do you know what a deep fake is?
No.
It is where you and it's where movie effects and editing has gotten to such a level where people are taking, someone who, in the old spy movies where they'd get somebody to say something like certain syllables so they could mold like a phrase together that needed for like a security password.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
there's that, but they've taken it so far where they're taking people's faces. Say if there is enough of your face videotaped doing different reactions, looking in different lighting and whatever, they combine that all to once and slap it on someone else's face as a deep fake to put out a video that you were like buying drugs or whatever, and it's some random dude and your face is just plastered on it.
No, I've never heard that. So
you need to look up deep fakes. I swear you'll be interested in it. But
for me, that probably won't be an issue. But
terrifying.
Yeah,
terrifying.
But okay. So I tell you what, we're chasing rabbits, but chaos is part of the process, right?
Yeah, sure.
We're sharing us. That's kind of what we do. We do try to have a topic, but we're sharing us and the things that we're going through. Guys, we kind of said it jokingly last week, but for us, this really is kind of like therapy. We get to come and share with you, and we walk away feeling hopefully a little bit better. And when you listen, I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you really get some stuff out of it, and I hope you walk away feeling better. If you don't, I apologize. We'll try to do better next time. That's all I'll say.
I mean, laugh at us. We laugh at ourselves,
Oh, yeah. What do you think, Bubs? Should we start picking a few phobias and just having a little fun with it, and then get into the more deeper stuff after we laugh a little bit?
I mean, I've laughed enough already, but yes, let's get into some phobias. Am I right?
All right. You got some pulled up? I've got one that I think a lot of people will find interesting once you do yours. So what have you got first off?
Well, in such a technology age, let's go with papyrophobia. I hope.
Okay.
It is the fear of paper.
The fear of
paper. Like,
interesting.
Whoever's watching, are you screaming yet?
The fear of paper. How do you pay for anything if you don't use your card?
I mean, technically, money has a different term. Would that be considered paper still?
Well, I mean, technically, it's made from paper. That's all I'm asking. I mean, does that mean
there's enough technology in certain bills anymore? I don't even know if we can consider it, like actual paper.
True.
Like the strips on $100 bills and things like that. Like, whoa.
Well, simply by association, does that mean that you're also afraid of trees if you're afraid of paper?
I don't know, and that's what worries me. Like, imagine throwing somebody in a forest, or what was that? What was that episode of Doctor Who where they were in that humongous library, and the monsters that are like, "These are our forests." It's the one where they go like, "Hey, who turned off the lights? Hey, who turned off the lights?" Yep. That one. Oh, terrifying, because first of all, it was a great episode, but just think about it. All that paper is trees, and all those trees are paper.
Well, how about this one? This is one for you all to think about. I saw this one and I thought, and I'm going to give it my best Kentucky effort to pronounce this properly. Probably won't, but again, I'll give it my best effort. This one is called syngenesiphobia. Syngenesiphobia. Y'all ready for this one?
All right, hit me with it.
This one is a fear of relatives.
I mean, hey, we have the same relatives. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Well, I know, but I mean, I think what they're trying to say here, if I'm reading it correctly, it says it's the fear of relatives or those who share our bloodline. And it's often caused by troubled relationships with inside the family, making anyone who shares some of the same traits frightening.
Wouldn't that also mean that you're afraid of yourself?
Well, yeah, I guess. But I mean, I've got, in my side of the family, there's certain traits that run through from all of us kids, even though we never lived in the same house. So, it is what it is. But I just thought that was interesting. I mean, and again, but that's what the comment section is for, guys. Does anyone out there have a serious fear?
All I'm saying is the Marshall genome is a very terrifying thing. Okay.
It can be.
As one, okay, terrifying thing. We're talking about like traits or whatever that are the same. We have family members who we've personally never met in person that act exactly the same as us.
All right. What else you got, bub? Give me another one.
Well, as one of our favorite relatives, I have to bring this one up, especially now that they have mentioned that they watch our podcast. We're going to talk about podophobia, which, if you didn't know, is the fear of feet. I'm just saying.
We've got a relative that definitely suffers from that one.
That, and for some reason, eyeballs. Like, people just staring.
I don't know.
Deep into your soul. I mean, like, hey, feet are gross. They got a bunch of fungus on them. I get it. But we're talking like they could be newborn baby's feet. And she's like, "Arr."
Yeah, I know. I mean, and again, I said it when we started talking about it. That may not seem normal to most of us.
But to people, it's
not dismissing anybody's fear as rational or irrational. I'm just saying that's what the world calls it. But in the moment, whatever the fear is,
yes,
to you, it is highly rational.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, it's just, come on now,
Right. No, I completely agree. I was trying to think. I didn't find one on the list so far that is like a fear that I have. You know what I mean? But is there? Find something on there. Hit us with another one.
Okay. Well, let's just go down a little bit and see what I can. Let's do this one. No, I don't like that one. I don't want to do that one.
Well, isn't phobias? And while you're looking, you can.
No, I've got one. This is one that I know a couple of people who actually suffer from this one.
Okay.
And I won't say that I am fearful of the individuals that are involved in this. I will say, however, that I don't normally trust the individuals that are involved in this. And I'll tell you why here in a minute.
Now I'm interested.
The phobia is coulrophobia. And I hope I said that correctly. If not, I'll spell it for you. It's Coulro phobia. Coulrophobia, the fear of clowns.
Clowns are freaky. First off,
Yeah.
like and the reason I was actually, while you were looking this up, isn't phobias where it's supposed to be an irrational fear? Like, you may not have ever experienced a clown in real life, but you're just so isn't that what phobias are?
It's something you have no control over.
Okay,
really.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to confirm that before we kept going.
You don't have the fight response. All you have is the flight response. It's such an intense reaction in your body that you can't do it. Now, what I said is, it's not that I am afraid of clowns, but I distrust clowns. I don't know if it's the face makeup or the permagran or whatever, or if it's just that I don't trust people who act like they're that happy all the time. I don't know what it is.
Well, and of course, I'll make a joke or some serious comment about this but don't all people always wear masks?
Well, they do to a point. Yes, we do. I mean, constantly.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, there's a lot of clowns in this world that don't work in the circus.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't think they're talking about that particular brand of clown. I will tell you that one of the things that, if you want to call it a fear, call it a fear. But I will tell you that one of those things that feeds my distrust
Right.
is these, I need the right word, Bubs. And I want to be polite. I don't want to be mean.
Well, don't look at me.
Let's see. Every year around Halloween time, there's this group of unique individuals.
Well, unique's a good word.
Who think it's absolutely hilarious to jump out of the bushes in the middle of the night when you're at a stop sign or a stoplight dressed as a clown, or chase you through a parking lot dressed as a clown, because it's absolutely hilarious.
Ooh. Well, and
Okay.
of course, you're talking about what was it, that big Florida incident that was going on? Do you remember the clown incident in Florida a couple years ago?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people, you know,
It
I don't
got
know how many people got in trouble, but it got bad.
It got
and they've
really
even started
bad.
doing it in all over the country now because people think it is quote unquote funny.
Well, it was like you would see clowns at like the edge of woods or whatever, and then like people with Ring doorbells, which we don't have exactly a Ring, but we do have, you know, the ability.
Something similar.
Yes. So just imagine middle of the night, which, of course, the reason we have this is when I had like a really, really old car. We hadn't fixed the locks on it yet. Someone stole the battery out of my car. That's an interesting story. We could get into it here a little bit. But because of that, we got cameras. Like, funny part, it was middle of winter. We could see footsteps up to the car, back away from the car. So it was funny.
Yeah.
But now with these cameras, just imagine middle of the night and just some dude getting up in the camera like with a mask on. Just, I ain't doing.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, for those of you that do not remember, I used to work in law enforcement. And I have had my life threatened numerous times. So creeping out of the bushes or creeping on my porch.
Not a good look.
Is it
for
a
you.
phobia? No, it's just that, again,
a wariness, maybe?
A wariness, whatever you want to call it. All I'll say is we all know that people who have certain phobias, you know, we all know the arachnophobia. That's an easy one. I mean, they made a really good movie about it. It was great, right? People are afraid of spiders.
Snakes.
You know, we all know how hilarious it is to have that friend, and we throw the plastic spider and they go into, you know, sudden redneck kung fu moves and ninja flips trying to get away from the plastic spider. That's hilarious.
Well, I think
to
we're
us, not to them, by the way.
yeah. No. Well, and the thing is, I think we're jumping. I don't even know why we haven't mentioned this, but snakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember the name for the phobia for snakes. Do you, by any chance?
Neither do I. Let me see if it's on this list that we just pulled up for this to be.
I'm sure it is. I mean, you know, come on, guys. While we're talking about this, let's just go through a couple others. There's dentophobia. Anybody out there afraid of dentists?
I don't know.
Hello.
Oh, I found it. It's ophidiophobia.
Oh, okay.
Ophidiophobia, maybe?
Ophidiophobia. I think you're probably right.
OPHIDIO phobia, fear of snakes.
Yeah.
I first of all, I sucked at English in high school. I am not like some English major. Smart tech guy. That's about my limits, okay? So don't expect me to pronounce it properly. And I'm also from Kentucky, okay? We have that covered. But we do also have someone in our family who is very afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
And you may or may not, the beard, you know, may have not purchased a couple plastic snakes before and hid them in.
Well, again,
corners.
It's funny to me.
But it's not funny to them.
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's the thing. You know, we're talking about it kind of in the...
we like to pull jokes.
I mean, everybody does. All right, we know that.
Yeah, we like to pull jokes, and we do this in good fun. We make sure that, you know, obviously they're not gonna trip, fall, whatever. Like, we obviously want to be there to make sure they're safe. We're not trying to hurt them, but obviously we like to have some laughs. Now, speaking of tripping, falling, and whatever, the one I was going to bring up is dystyphobia. I think it's
Okay.
it's DYSTYCHI phobia, the fear of accidents.
Mhm.
Now, see, with that can cover so much. Like,
Well, are you afraid of the accident? Are you afraid of causing the accident? Are you afraid of being in an accident? Again, it kind of goes back to that definition that we talked about: false evidence appearing real,
right.
or a fear of what might be, not the what is. Right.
Right, and well, I mean, what type of accidents? Like, are we talking like a water accident? Like, were you in a boat? Are you talking about car accidents, plane accidents? You know, which I
See,
mean,
I think you made a good point there,
mhm.
and that's something about fear. It never usually stays that one itty bitty little thing.
Yeah, like
It
an
tends
accident.
to blow up and encompass everything else. It's kind of like a grenade. When it goes off, it hits a big wide spread.
Well, and like I have a fear of accidents, and by that accident, I mean like stubbing my toe. Okay, like I've stubbed my toe. I'm like a very heavy-footed man. Okay, I have stubbed my toe a couple times where I thought, all right, this is the end. Like, I'm in the floor, rolling around. It was great.
We've all walked through the living room in the middle of the night to get a drink of water, and the coffee table jumps out and crushes the pinky toe. Right?
Oh no, we're not even talking about that. When you used to have a cane, okay, his cane, and I say this legitimately, used to attack me. Now, I'm not saying, okay, first of all, he did not beat me with a cane. I'm saying middle of the night, I'm going
The cane beat him by itself.
It would trip me in the middle of the night. So I like flashlight beam, like walking through the living room, thumping around, and like I could see it slithering. All right, thing was coming.
You know, well, I mean, and again, you know, we're trying to have a little fun with this, guys. And
Yes.
please, again, I don't want you all to think that we're making fun of anybody. You know, I'm going to keep saying this till we get to the end of this. We may think, or somebody else may think, the fear that you have is irrational,
Right.
but it's not irrational to you in the moment.
No. Your fears
Right, I
are
mean,
legitimate. Your fears are legitimate.
Yeah, your fears are legitimate because in that moment, it's not like you have, you know, have anything else. Well, Bubbzi, I've got one more that I'd like to share.
Okay.
And then if you want to do another one, that's fine.
All right.
Or however you want to do it. But I thought this one was kind of funny considering.
I think we'll do
So
yours.
I thought
and
I would
then
share it.
I think we'll do yours, and then we will continue.
Okay. This one, if I am pronouncing it properly,
All right.
is pogonophobia. Let me say that one more
Pogonophobia.
time. Pogonophobia. And before you jump to conclusions, it is not the
Wait.
fear of pogo sticks.
Okay, you made two jokes there, and I'm upset at both of them. All right, don't before you jump to conclusion. All right, all
Yes,
right.
yes, yes. I know. I'm being a little punny. Okay, sorry. But pogonophobia, y'all ready for this? Is the fear of beards.
Someone watching this podcast just starts screaming.
Oh, you got to hear the description for this. Pogonophobics are frightened of what you're hiding behind those whiskers,
Yeah,
even though they logically know the answer is bits of food.
you know, they had a Snapchat filter, which it's supposed to mimic you without a beard. Like that was
Yeah.
the whole thing. I should have used that on you.
You don't
I
want to see this without
I
a beard or
should
mustache. You don't want to see it.
Well, first of all,
I instantly
That's
turn into Pinocchio, you know, a pathetic liar when you take the mustache off. I'm just saying, right?
honestly,
so-
is it like your like belt of truth? Is that what it is?
I don't know if it's a belt of truth, but somehow it just throws off the balance of my face without it, and my nose looks like it's out to here. That's all I'll say.
The thing is, I'm worried that one time he's just gonna lose the beard, and I'm not gonna recognize it that it's my father. Like,
Well, one of these days I may have to go into witness protection, and then when I shave it, that's all I got to do.
Oh my
So-
gosh!
Because
Yeah.
he's not the only one who hasn't seen me in over 20 years.
Well, no. Here's
or
the
30
thing.
years without facial hair.
Here's the thing. Shave and never wear hats. You'll be great. You'll be fine. It'll be like hidden in the middle of nowhere. It'll be great. Oh my gosh.
But, you know, and again, like I said, you know, I don't understand the fear of beards.
You have one?
I don't understand why somebody would be afraid of something like that. There's also one, Bubs, you know, that says the fear of the color yellow. I mean, unless you're Green Lantern, I really don't understand that fear at all.
Well, there is a fear of the color purple too. Like, I mean, there's probably fears about pretty much everything, to be honest.
There is, and that's the thing. You know, we're getting ready to talk about the cost of fear and what it cost us. And I mean, if we went off, I didn't count the number on the list. I probably should have, but you know, the list is not tiny. It's a huge list.
Yeah.
So you can find a fear for just about everything.
Is there fear of everything?
Probably. You know, there probably somewhere out there, there's probably a word for it.
Right.
But when you start looking at fear, you have to understand, or we maybe is what I should say. We have to understand and realize that if we don't find a way to overcome, if we don't find a way to conquer it, then there is a cost to that fear. You know, there is one that I understand is very real and very difficult for people called agoraphobia, which is the fear of big open spaces. So these people stay in their homes, in their apartments. They have things delivered. They work on their computers. They never leave their house. So what does that cost, Bubs? I mean, just an example, what do you think that would cost somebody to never leave their home?
Well, first of all, you're going to get cabin fever.
Maybe. I mean, you know, but they think they can't leave the house. But what else do they miss? I mean, think about this for just a minute. Anybody who's listening, and again, I'd love to hear what y'all think about this stuff. I really would. I'm still waiting. But what about birthdays?
Mm-hmm.
What about holidays? What about weddings?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see the point where people like, oh, but I have friends online. I have a lot of friends online, but nothing was better than finally getting to meet those people in real life. You know what I mean? But I couldn't stay behind the microphone. I had to go and be a part.
Well, I mean, and agoraphobia is just one of them. I mean, you know, if you take, for example, we talked about the fear of snakes a moment ago. Mm-hmm. What if the family's going on a cabin trip, right?
Yeah.
You know, to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and you want to go, but because of your fear of snakes, well, I can't go. I won't have any fun. I won't be able to do this. So you miss out on family time. Or I don't know. What is the first one you said? The fear of paper. How are you going to go in and work in an office if you're afraid of paper? I mean, there's no office in the world that doesn't rule and run on paper, you know?
Well, I mean, okay. So what was it? I think I went all through working from home during COVID, didn't print a single thing. First week into work, they're like, oh yeah, you have to print something. I was like, I don't even know if my computer still works with the printer in the office. Like, you could have replaced it since the last time I was here. By the way, like the things that, well, like even just being in my home or whatever and away from work, the things that I missed, like I have coworkers who are getting married now that I didn't, like weren't even in a relationship when COVID started. You know what I mean? Like those are things that you could miss because of a fear like that. Like that's a cost. Like you're missing important details about people's lives because people's lives don't show up at your house and say, you know, they don't give you a list of exactly what's going on in their lives. You know, well, if you want to be in someone's life, you have to go out and experience it.
And we're kind of hitting specific things there, trying to give specific reasons. And I am doing that on purpose because one of the ways, and we'll talk about it some more here in a little bit, if you don't think about what you're afraid of, then you'll never come to the point that you can confront it. Now, I'm using that because most everybody works, everybody has to do things. But the cost of fear is something that you're not going to be able to get back.
Right.
And let me explain the best way I can. And I'm just going to use me as an example because I don't want anybody to ever hear stuff like this and think, well, he's talking about me and or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got sick, and yes, I know we talk about it a lot, but it's been a big part of our lives. It's kind of still is in some ways. But they told me that I would have one lung, both lungs, and most likely my heart replaced. And I would be extremely lucky if I made it 5 to 7 years on this planet.
Well, and you're how long? First of all, just
Well,
yeah.
we're
Good
almost
news
15
there.
years in.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of an anomaly, or as what they call me usually, as I'm just weird, right? I'm different. So, but
What a way to put it, you know?
the problem is this: when I got sick, I was afraid. Number one, of what it would do to me. I was afraid of what it would do to my family. And again, I'm trying, for those of you that are watching, I'm just trying to be straight out honest.
We said we'd be real. So
I went through a process where I intentionally did everything I could to push the family away because I was afraid of what they would have to go through if they saw me suffer, because I believed everything the doctor said. I bought every timeline that they laid out. So much so that I missed out on a lot of Bubbzi's life because I was afraid if I went with them, I would have an episode and they wouldn't get to have any fun. They would have to bring me home. It would just ruin everything. So I stayed home by myself a lot. But fear can cost you the connections you need to be strong and survive. It can cost you the energy that you need. You'll spend so much time being afraid that you'll forget how to have courage.
yeah.
See, it's to stand up, you first have to want to stand up. And fear will steal your want to. Fear will stop you from going to your son's baseball game because you may have a problem and it's going to ruin his baseball game. Now, to me, the excuse was legitimate because that's really the reason that I did it. But I would hazard to guess that him and his mother, all they saw was that I was not there. Right?
Well, and
so it cost a lot.
Well, and
that's just one example of what fear can cost you.
Yeah. Well, and see, there is an artist called NF. Okay. I personally really enjoy his music. He's a rapper, and the thing is, he raps about a lot of difficult subjects. A lot of people don't enjoy his music because they think it's too, how do I want to say it? It's too angry, or it's too I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. But he makes a connection, and the people who enjoy his music is because he's speaking from his heart. He's speaking about something that is real. Okay? But one of the things he talks about is, and something that one of those lines is it me or the fear talking?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of situations, if you have fear, a lot of your mindset, a lot of your excuses or things that you'll tell people, it's not really what you want. Like, I guarantee he wanted to be at that baseball game, but fear was talking in his stead, or talking in his place. Okay. And that is a cost. Okay. You aren't always in your right headspace. That's why with phobias, it's an irrational thing. You can't help it. Now, like I said, I had a public speaking fear. I hate it. Like I'm saying, I've had panic attacks just from the thought of talking in public in the past. Okay. But I also knew that with things I wanted to do, I would have had to speak in public. Things like, obviously, the podcast. I love the podcast now that we've actually started doing it. It was always like a, ooh, like, podcast. I listen to podcasts when I'm at work doing reports or whatever. I was like, they're just sitting in front of a microphone. But back then, that was such a difficult task for me to even think about. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you're saying, because again, it goes back to that thing that one of the costs of fear, straight out, as far as I can see, Bubs, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is it will absolutely stop you dead in your tracks from doing something you really want to do, because you'll sit there and you'll eat and chew and spit and think on the what ifs and the what couldas and the what shouldas and all this stuff, and end up later just going, why am I still here?
Right. Yes.
What happened?
Yes.
Why didn't I move? Why didn't I do this?
Yeah.
See, the biggest thing, and I'll say it this, and then, Bubby, if you've got a different cost, or you want to try to do a different cost, but I'll just say it this: fear will stop you from being you. That's the biggest cost. Because we all know those people, and if you take a moment when you're listening to this to think about it, we all know at least one person that seems to be a different person with every crowd that they're with. Whatever group of people that they are with, they suddenly become that group of people. Why? Because they're afraid of not being accepted.
Yeah.
They're afraid that who they really are wouldn't be accepted by anybody, so they give up being themselves to be a part of anybody.
And actually, I think I saw that on this list. I think it's like social evaluation or whatever. Fear of social evaluation.
There you go. Yeah, I think I saw the same one.
And I get that. It's like technically, you're so afraid that you're legitimately hiding yourself. Like, you're not being you, to be honest. And that's what it feels like sometimes when you're overly afraid, especially when, like with the public speaking thing, people said, oh, you're so funny when I finally got to know you, but when I first met you, you wouldn't talk to me. Things like that. Like, I never got to be personable, or didn't get to show my personality unless it was like close friends and things like that. Like, I didn't get to show me or be true to myself. I think, at least like what I think is like a cost. Not only that cost, but like a cost of time.
Wow.
Oof.
Yeah. How much time do we waste
on fear,
being afraid of what might be?
Yeah.
All right, I got you one. Can I throw one out there with your definition?
Do it.
I really think she's cute. I wonder what would happen if I asked her out. And we spend more time wondering what might happen if we asked him or her out than we do actually finding out what would really happen if we popped a question.
or how much time do you spend? And if you can't tell, we both overthink things occasionally. I was gonna go with occasionally, but yes, a lot. And tell me, leave it a comment, comment. But
nobody else overthinks like that, Bubs. You know that.
It's just a Marshall thing.
Yep.
But how much time do you spend thinking about an argument or a conversation you're gonna have with somebody than you do actually in the conversation?
How many times have you gotten that mysterious invitation from a friend? Can you come over for dinner? We need to talk.
Oh,
and immediately your stomach drops and you go start going, what did I do?
Oh, bro.
What happened? What did I say?
The we need to talk text. First of all, those need to stop. Those need to stop. Like, if you're texting me and I'm answering whatsoever, we can probably talk. Just let me know what's going on.
Yep. Because and that's what he's talking about, right? I mean, think about the amount of time that you have torn yourself apart over the simplest word, the simplest phrase, the simplest anything. And you've been upset and tore up to find out it's really nothing.
It's like, they say we need to talk, and it's like, oh, hey, can we go bowling Friday? And I'm over here thinking like, I ran over their dog.
They're not going to be my friend.
I ran over their dog, and they found out, or like just the most irrational things. Like,
Now, again, he said, we keep saying that word comes up when fear is involved, irrational.
Yes.
But in the moment, it's not irrational. It's just that.
Mm-hmm.
But fear will cost you time. Fear will cost you your mental stability at times, right? Because again, if you're like Bubbzi and I, we have a tendency to overthink, and I mean really overthink things. And the what ifs are what gets us because we're looking for that perfect answer that makes it whatever, I guess. So,
or it's almost like we would love to do it, or we would love to, whatever we're afraid of, we would love to get to that point, but it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, for once, guys, it's not a quote I have written down. For once, I know.
He loves his quotes. Now, y'all figured that out already, right?
Yeah, no, I love quotes, but isn't it? Of course, now that I mentioned, like, I went with the whole bit, like, oh, I didn't have it written down.
The fear of forgetting.
Oh my gosh, that's why I write things down. What was it? I actually don't know. Gosh.
No, that's okay. Just think
we'll come back to it. I promise.
We'll come back to it. If as a friend of mine once told me, I told him I was thinking about something. I'd said, but it's right on the tip of my tongue. And he said the funniest thing about that I've ever heard, and I've used it ever since. He says, "Well, it's circling the drain, and eventually it'll flush." And I really like that analogy. Okay, because when you take the definition, if you look at some of the things that you're afraid of, if you look at the cost of it. Excuse me, we're going to talk here in just a minute about can fear be overcome? Well, there's certain things that you're going to have to do. Right?
I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I knew he would remember if I talked long enough.
No. The quote is like, and it's specifically for people who, like us, overthink, is not everything has to be perfect, even if you do something, even in small amounts. Like, people... And this is more for people who have maybe struggled with fear, depression, anxiety, those type of things. But sometimes you aren't always feeling the best. But even taking care of yourself, maybe like
it's just days that end with why, dude.
But it was like when days are hard, like don't worry about. And of course, they gave the example of like don't worry about trying to brush your teeth for 2 minutes if that's too hard. Like try 30 seconds.
Yeah,
or like
celebrate the small victories. Don't be afraid. Right? Don't be afraid. Like, and because that's going to lead to courage and something else, right, Bubs?
Right. Well, and the thing is, it wasn't like with public speaking. I didn't start, talking for an hour just right out the bat after stop being afraid. It was.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's always talking like that to me. So.
Well, like I said earlier, it's because you're in the circle, the inner circle,
Whatever.
But it started out with like 3 to 5 minutes. Then I, got up to 10 minutes. Then I got up to 15. Like, it was a process. But if I hadn't even started, if I wasn't happy with 3 minutes, I never would have made it to anything higher. You know what I mean? Like you have to. Fear isn't usually something you can just beat.
Well, if you look at all the things that you are afraid of, if you look at all the situations that cause you to be afraid, there's all kinds of different ways.
Right.
And the first thing I think we have to do, Bubs, if we're going to try to overcome anything, is we have to understand why we're afraid.
We have to recognize
what is it that makes us afraid, right? What is it that's keeping us from doing it? Is it something that, and gosh, I hate to use this word again. Is it something that's irrational, right? Or is it something that is tangible? Because again, fear was meant to be a response that your body has to keep you out of danger. So we kind of have to know that, and then we can kind of look at it and decide what to do next, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, danger exists, okay? I mean, stepping outside your house, there's technically a risk level to that, okay? To some extent. Driving a car,
absolutely.
That's a risk level. Walking wherever you're going instead of driving a car, there's a risk level to that. using a bike, things like that. Like, there's risk levels in everything. Okay. But if you're so afraid of everything that has any sort of risk, living has a risk. Okay. You like when you recognize that everything that we do in life that we limit ourselves to is irrational.
But everything that's worth doing also has a risk. Everything that you do has a risk to it. I mean, for example, you've heard me talk about it before. I've said it, been married for 30 years. All right. That first conversation, what's your phone number? Had a risk. We could have got the look, or, like, no, dude, you know what I'm saying? But it had a risk, but it was a risk that paid off, and again, I'm just using agoraphobia as an example. But if you're afraid to go out of the house,
right,
then start by opening the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's a victory, just opening the door. And then if you can get to where you can open the door, then step out onto the porch or into the door jamb. You don't even have to step all the way out. Just step into the door jamb. Right. That's a victory.
Well,
because it's already limiting you, but every time you overcome something that limits you, your potential for success and to be something else grows exponentially.
And of course, this is definitely something that I got from my mother, which I love her, and this just makes me think about her specifically. Is at least talking in the way we're talking right now, is she loves the Christmas like stop motion cartoons that come on every year.
What's wrong with Frosty?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm saying she loves them.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying she, like I said, she loves them. But like Rudolph, what was it? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yep.
There's one of the moment where he's like, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. Like, fear is just like that. I mean, that was the whole thing. He's like, he was too scared to leave. But you take everything one step at a time. Like I said, it's not like I'm going from point A to point Z like a snap of a finger. It's I had to go from A to B to C to D all the way through. Yes, one step. That's it. That's how you overcome fear in anything.
I'm going to let you in on this little secret too. Sometimes the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, to overcome a fear is not to move at all.
Ooh.
Sometimes you have to stand there and understand where you are before you can take the next step.
True.
Because, if you want to use relationship as an example, sometimes we rush through a relationship just to have a relationship. And we miss some of those points in there where we grow closer together and the relationship is stronger, and therefore later on it falls apart. Sometimes when we're confronting stuff, we need to just stay where we are. And I don't want to use the word comfortable, but you kind of have to get comfortable, but till you're strong enough to take the next step.
Well, I mean,
because depending on what you're overcoming, it may take a while. It's like you said, it's not going to be a Ferrari from 0 to 60 in 2.38 seconds or whatever. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's getting to where you need to be to do the things that you need to do for you.
Well, and I mean, like, an example, like he's like, don't miss certain points. The pyramids, like that are still existing. The reason that they have such a large base and they slowly go up is because if they were built any other way, they would have fallen down at that point. Yeah. Okay, yeah. You have to have the foundation, and then you have to build upon that. I mean, of course, we're saying the same thing in just different ways, like one step.
Well, yeah, because people hear it differently.
Right.
And I want you to think about this, Bubbzi. You answer me this question.
Ooh,
do you think that your friends or family are important to overcoming something you're afraid of?
Yes, and possibly, well, technically it would be yes if maybe you're afraid of like relatives, like maybe you're afraid of like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean that limits it. But what I'm saying is, the reason that I said it this way is, and everyone I will encourage support. You guys to go back and listen to the podcast on family, because we had a little bit different definition on family.
Yeah.
It wasn't just blood. It was who you invited into your circle and invited into your heart to be family.
Everyone needs support. Everyone.
There you go. Everyone needs somebody to hold them up when they cannot hold themselves up.
Correct.
You need somebody or some bodies that you can call and go, dude, I'm struggling, or I need this, I need that, right?
Yes.
Because again, just using it as an example, because it's a good example, because a lot of houses have porches and stairs and all this other stuff. The agoraphobia makes sense. Your friend can be standing on the porch talking to you while you have the door open.
Yeah.
You know, they may be standing on the stairs while you're standing in the door jamb, waiting for you to step out. They can be down on the walk that leads up to your house while you're standing on the porch. But the whole time they're there, they're encouraging, they're lifting you up, they're giving you the support you need.
Yes.
See, that's to me is the one thing that overcomes all fear. You know, I've said, you know, and we haven't even mentioned the faith portion of it, right? You know, 365 times in the Bible itself says, fear not. Why? Because we have the ultimate support system from there, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
okay, again, not pushing my opinion on anybody. I'm just telling you that's where I get a lot of my support from.
Well, right? I mean, if you think about it, family is the building blocks to success. Now, success in whatever, if that's success in your business, success in overcoming fear, like you have, and I'm taking the definition of family we had in that episode is it doesn't have to be your blood, but it's the people who are around you, that are with you, that are there to hold you up. They are, just like I said, you have to have a firm foundation to build up to anything. They're part of that foundation.
I'll tell you something else. You know, part of the definition that we used was false evidence appearing real, right? That was what we said, false evidence. So, and we also said, or I said, that it's not really the dark we're afraid of. It's what we think it's, you know, it's what we think is in the dark, right? You know, because I mean, let's be honest, Bubbzi, as kids, it's not the monster under the bed that we're afraid of. It's the fact that we think there's a monster under the bed that makes us afraid, right?
I think I see where you're going with this, and if not, I'm with you.
The fear of the unknown, that unknown factor of, again, will he say yes? Will she say yes? Will I get this job? Will I do this? Will I be able to do this? Will people like me? Well, you know, it's that fear of unknown. So what do you think, Bubbzi? Do you think if we can educate ourselves some on things that we're afraid of, do you think that can help us to overcome? Maybe help us to see it in a different light is what I'm getting at. So that it's, the more we understand it, the less we're afraid of it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, you know, from the definition we used from fear at the very beginning, where it's, you know, fake evidence appearing real, how do you combat that? It's getting factual, solid evidence. So
finding the truth, right?
When I was afraid of the monster in my closet, I had somebody come illuminate the closet.
All right. Now, I have to share a little story here about overcoming fear, if that's okay with you, Bubs.
Yeah, hit me with it.
And it also goes back to the definition of false evidence appearing real. When I was 6, 7, whatever, lived with my grandmother who raised me.
You were young?
She had a beautiful house, right? Big house. Had a basement, garage, den, upstairs kitchen, all that, you know, great house. Right. Now, but I had this fear of the basement. All right. Now you got to understand, if you go into most rooms nowadays, you can stick your hand about 6 inches into the room. There's the light switch. You flick it on. This was not how this house was designed, at least the basement. All right. You had to reach for me, my whole arm in and find it in the dark. Well, the problem was that I was 100% sure that there was a monster living in my grandmother's basement. The reason that I say this is because I could be playing in the garage and I would hear this thing go, I just knew that this thing down there was calling my name, you know, and it could have been saying something like, I'm going to eat you. I don't know what it was, right? But you have to understand, there were a couple of times my grandmother goes, I need you to go and get something out of the basement. And I'm like, she goes, come on now, I need your help.
I want to hold you.
So I would go down, and there were a couple of times, and this just reinforced my fear. that I would stick my arm in to try to find the light switch. And about the time I would get my arm fully engulfed in the darkness trying to find the light switch, the thing would make the noise. I would run the other direction and like, Granny, yawn, yawn. I ain't going in there. It's not happening.
It's like, you coming with me.
So as a kid, I was 100% sure that there was a monster in the basement.
Right.
That was waiting for me to get far enough into the dark that he could grab me, pull me in, and nobody'd ever see me again. Right. But it just so happened that one night I was down there with my grandmother. We were looking for something. And the sad part is this is where the laundry room was, so we had to be there, right? So I'm sitting there with her. We're talking about something. I'm watching her do her thing. And all of a sudden, the monster roared. And I looked at her, and she looked, and she saw how big my eyes were. I think I'd probably dropped a few shades in color. I think the blood ran out my toes. I was a little bitty fella back then. I was already in sprint mode. Had my arms. I was getting ready to go.
Getting ready to booger.
She goes, don't worry about it. I said, but. She goes, it's just the furnace. Right? I was so convinced that this piece of machinery was a monster. Mm-hmm. Right, that I was willing to leave the woman that I loved and who loved me down there by herself. I was outie, man.
I was gonna boogie.
So, but with a little bit of education,
a
little bit of information from somebody who knew. See, that's another thing. We've got friends and we've got family members, we've got coworkers, whatever, that may have a little more information. And if we allow them to give us the information, then that irrational thing may kind of, if you'll pardon the expression, come into a rational view. Right. You'll be able to see it for what it is or for what it could be. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how I want to say it.
Change the fictitious fiction evidence, whatever, to factual evidence.
Yeah, change the false evidence to factual evidence. Exactly.
Yes.
And once we do that, then the fear is just not going to be that big. I mean, It's like anything else. The furnace scared me to death while it was in the dark. But once we turned the lights on, I could see what was really there. Right?
Yes, sir.
And that's really the only thing. I mean, there's going to have to become a time. There's going to have to be a place when you and I and whatever we're afraid of, pardon the expression, are going to have to come face to face.
True.
We're going to have to look it in the eye and go, not today. Not anymore.
Today.
I'm done. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't know what your fear is. I don't know what it is you need to overcome. I don't know what caused it. It could have been a dog and you're afraid of dogs. And I mean, my dogs, they act tough, but I've said it before on here. You break into the house, they may bark at you, but then they're going to show you where everything's hidden and go give me a treat. Right? I mean, that's, they act tough, but that's pretty much it. Right? Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm asking, Bubbzi, is, and you can answer it if you want, and I'm asking it mainly for the audience though. What is it that you need to overcome? What's the information that you require right now to overcome something that you're facing? Because you may be driving down the road listening to this, you may be sitting at home, and maybe the fear that you're facing right now, just for example, is, do I change jobs or not? Mm-hmm. Right? You have to have the education. You have to understand, because, let's be honest, change is hard. Starting a new job is hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear involved. So make sure you get the information and talk to whoever you need to talk to. What do you think, Bubs? Is there something that, besides the primordial scream that you do before every podcast to get the jitters out? What do you think? What's something that you think would help overcome fear as well?
Well, and like I said earlier, and I'm glad we brought it up, was obviously family. Like, and I say the definition of family we used earlier, like, includes friends. That could be your dog. Like, I don't, like, dude.
I will say that if your dog is talking to you, though, I'm being a little worried. Just saying.
But, like, dude, I know people who, like, if you're having a bad day, whatever, dude, there's nothing better than just be like, oh, come here, dog, just love me. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
And they do. They will.
Yeah. Like, man's best friend, Like, dude, if you got a cat and they respond to, hey, come here, how? Just how? First of all, just how? But like,
well,
support birds. All right, give it a little whistle tune. Disney princess, like, bring the bird here. I guess, I don't know. However you want to do it that way. What?
Nothing. I just the visual. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Just me in a dress going, ah, in the middle of the woods.
No, I did not need that visual at all. Thank you very much. But anyway, now I have a new fear. I'm just saying. No, but I mean, but the thing is, though, you have to have. He's absolutely right. You have to have that kind of support.
Right.
And we've made mention before with dreams and other things. If there's something that you want to share with us, we'll be willing to do what we do. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, if you send me something and it goes like, I need to overcome this, then I'm going to be praying for you. That's what I do.
Right.
All right. Somebody said, well, man, I'll send you good vibes. That's what they do. Right? But you've got to find the way, because I do believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that there has to be a point where you face what you're afraid of.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to stop you from being you. It's going to stop you from moving the way you need to move.
I'm with you.
And we don't want that. We've kind of tried to make a little fun of this today. We've tried to make a little light of it and laugh about it and all this. But let's be honest, being afraid is a serious thing.
It is.
And if you're involved in the middle of it right now, it's really serious for you. Right? I mean, we can make a joke about it and all this other stuff, and maybe you'll kind of giggle a little bit, but it's not like you're going to be out of it. It's just a part of what you're going through right now.
Right.
So we're here to help if we can. Like I said, if you need it, then you can let us know. We'll be happy to do it.
Yes.
Because we're just about done here today, guys. We're just about finished up. The one thing I want to say before we finish is we'll help if we can. And I do want you to know that being afraid is normal. It's not as abnormal as some people would have you think. Okay?
Yeah.
They may not understand it. They may not get it, but it's not that abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of being afraid, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, everyone is afraid of something. Everyone is afraid of something.
Whether they say it or not. I'll say this. If you ask somebody, what are you afraid of? And they go, I'm not afraid of nothing. They're afraid of you finding out. They're afraid of something. I'm just going to say it out loud. Right there.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So there's people out there that are willing to help. There's people out there that you can talk to. There's people out there that will lift you up and try to make you stronger. And I'm hoping that you got a little bit of information. I'm hoping maybe you got a little bit of fun. I'm hoping, if nothing else, that maybe this podcast brought you a little bit out of your head and go, okay, well, maybe I'm not as weird as I thought I was, or whatever popped through your mind. I'm just throwing that out there.
They're definitely not as weird as they thought they was. They just
you're definitely not as weird as we are. So let's leave it at that.
And especially,
if nothing else, that should make you feel better.
I mean, we talked about myself doing Disney princess impressions. Like, yeah, you're definitely not that weird. Yeah. I hope that got you out of your head.
Well, but guys, here's the thing. I want to say this, and then if you want to get in contact with me, we're gonna put my social media and his on the information for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
But it's The Caffeinated Beard on TikTok. It's The Caffeinated Beard on Instagram. 2 easiest places to find me. 2 easiest places to reach me. You can reach out and just say, Beard, I'm having a hard time. Will you pray for this? You got it. Or if you want a piece of advice, I am not the smartest man in the world. I am not the sharpest knife in the door. I'm not whatever. What do you want? I'm not an expert.
Right.
But if you want a piece of advice, I will be more than happy to tell you what I think about something. Does not mean, like I said, that I'm an expert and it's guaranteed to work. It just means that if I were you in this situation, that's what I would do.
Right.
Okay. So reach out, let us know, do something like that. I appreciate the comments that I've gotten this week on the podcast. Guys, you all are blowing Bubbzi's in my mind, just to be quite honest with you.
Yes.
And we appreciate you so much. So again, it's The Caffeinated Beard on TikTok. It's The Caffeinated Beard on Instagram. Reach out, come get us, come hang out with us, have a little fun. Thank you for everything. And just like I've done every podcast we've done since, from this time to the next time, if you made it this far, if you hung in this long, welcome to the family.
And I would just quickly give my socials. Same thing. The whole part of this podcast obviously was, we're going to be real. We're here to help some people, but it's also to connect generations. I completely understand and then I would say like most of it is like, I may not be the best of advice. I've gone through some things and I think I've done okay in some situations, but we're here to help as much as we can. Now, if you need experience, I would definitely recommend going to him. If you need maybe a new idea where you've tried everything else, come to me. I'll do my best. I think outside the box normally, somehow. But that's what this podcast is about. We not only get to speak out and overcome whatever we talk about in the podcast.
Our stuff.
Yes. But we also get to bring you all with the journey. So, like he said, from this time to next, I've been Bubbzi. He's been the Beard. He gave his socials. You can find all my stuff at It's Bubbzi. That's ITSBUBBZI. And this has been the Caffeinated Podcast. Bye, guys.